Good day, everyone. Scooter coming to you live from the Granville Guitars World Headquarters here in lovely St. Petersburg, Florida. Today, we are joined by our very good friend, Mr. Jeff Bain. Thanks for joining us, Jeff.
Thanks for having me.
For those of you who don't know Jeff, Jeff was an integral part of a local, steadfast icon of music retail in the Tampa Bay area, Seminole Music, for 33 years. Let that soak in.
Right.
Amazing. Now that we've been without Seminole for 8 months, it still feels weird, I have to admit. But anyway, we're here to get inside the mind of Jeff Bain, hopefully.
Oh, that could be a scary place. I don't know, man.
And have some fun.
That we could do.
Okay. Question 1. Discuss your earliest musical memories.
Earliest musical memories. Wow. So, both of my parents were, they had me when they were older, so they listened to some pretty old music. I grew up hearing like Lawrence Welk and stuff like that, which I did not dig. But that's what I heard. So, I heard that. I heard some classical. My dad played organ, he actually had an M3 in the house, which is like a B3 home version or whatever. Very similar to the B3, apparently. Heard a lot of classical. My mom liked classical. She had a copy of Bach's Brandenburg concertos, which I heard a lot of. So I grew up loving that kind of stuff. That, came out later in my love of metal. Because, Bach is the classical version of metal. But what really shaped, and my brother played guitar. So I heard a lot of like 60s and early 70s stuff because he was playing that kind of stuff in a band, which again still wasn't really my vibe. But those are my earliest memories. But I don't know if you were going to go here, but what really shaped my musical love was Billy Thorpe's Children of the Sun.
Really?
I heard that.
What a great album.
I know, right? Well, it wasn't just the whole album. It was the song Children of the Sun.
The whole album is pretty good.
The whole album is really good. But I heard that song and it blew my mind, right? Just everything from that crazy flanged drum intro to like that intro guitar thing fading in, all the spacey sounds. I was always into sci-fi and spacey stuff even when I was a little kid. So when I heard that song, it was like, and then it wasn't much long after that my brother was like really into progressive rock and fusion. So he had Return to Forever, he had Mahavishnu Orchestra, he had UK, which most people don't even know who that is.
Oh, believe me, I know.
I know you know. Oh yeah, yeah, man. And Yes, and all that kind of stuff. But somehow I ran across the first UK album, and I listened to that, and that was like, again, my mind was blown. So that was a long way around saying what my first musical experience was, but that was like where it went. It was Lawrence Welk, classical music, and then I heard Billy Thorpe, and then it was like prog whatever, progressive jazz, progressive rock, and we know where that went later.
I remember the Billy Thorpe record very well.
Great record.
Coming up in the Midwest, I grew up, and the seeds of my musicianship were sown in the Midwest in northeastern Kansas. And that Billy Thorpe was everywhere. The local radio station in Kansas City was KY102, KYYS in Kansas City, and they played that song at its height at least once an hour. It was everywhere. Wow. It was everywhere. So yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
And to this day, if you go back and listen to it, it's a wonderful recording.
Oh yeah. I listened to it the other night, and I was like, wow, this is still
holds up because it's such a clean, well-produced record. Who or what compelled you to pick up a guitar?
I would have to say probably my brother, because he played. But, it was weird. I didn't really think about guitar. Even after hearing Billy Thorpe, I didn't really think about guitar so much. But I heard that first UK album again. And I heard Alan Holdsworth. And I was like, is that a guitar? because his solos didn't sound much like guitar. It sounded like maybe a violin, maybe saxophone.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I heard my brother play, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. But then I heard Alan Holdsworth, and I was like, oh my God, what is that?
Yeah.
So I had to dig in farther, and that of course completely screwed up my whole life. Because I couldn't start with playing chords. I had to start with trying to figure out what the hell Alan Holdsworth was doing.
Yeah. Learn some Kiss and
right,
and then work your way up.
There, right, exactly. I started completely at the wrong end of the spectrum. I was like, God, why did I start there?
Okay, question number 3: what was your first guitar, and when did you get it?
My first guitar. My first guitar was a Sears Silvertone that was completely beat to shit. Excuse the language.
Nope.
But my mom at the time worked in a consignment shop, and there were these guitars there, and I got that, and I got I don't know what the acoustic guitar was, but it was they were both unplayable. Like the action was so high you could drive a truck under it. And I didn't know, I didn't know that was a bad thing. I thought that's how guitars were. Because I never got a chance to play my brother's guitars because he was by the time out of the house and was at college, and so I never had any
How much older was your brother?
He was like 20, like early 20s when I was 13. Actually, no, he was around there, so
okay.
Older.
He wasn't like 20 years older than you. So.
You know what? Actually, he probably was about 20 years older than me. Now that I think about it, yeah. I mean, I came along late, man. I was like that accident you hear about,
Oops.
Oopsie. Back when my parents were having fun, they didn't have whatever. We won't go there.
You can go there if you want to.
I might go anywhere.
Your parents might see this. So.
No, they're long gone.
Oh, I see.
But they still see it,
You never know.
I got that Sears Silvertone. It was unplayable, and I had no idea that it was unplayable. So I tried. I didn't even know how to tune it. So and this was way before the internet. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how, but I think there was maybe some tuning instructions or something, or maybe a book. It might have been like a Mel Bay book or something that I got with it from the same consignment shop. And it might have had the tuning notes, and I still had the M3 organ at the house, so I figured out what note was what to the best of my ability, tuned the guitar to the best of my ability, started figuring out chords to the best of my ability. Based on that book and based on what I could figure out from the organ and what my dad had laying around and stuff. But that was my first guitar.
Okay. Have you ever been influenced by non-guitar music or players who don't play guitar?
Early on, not so much. I was influenced. I would say early on I was kind of more influenced by music in general than guitarists. Because the Billy Thorpe thing, my first album, I don't know if you're going to ask that either, but my first album was Styx, Grand Illusion.
Oh, okay, that's completely weird. I don't like to interject a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Grand Illusion is the first record that I ever purchased with my own money. The first album.
Me too.
I was into 45s before that.
Yeah,
you could buy them for 83 cents at Richmond Gordman. Right?
Right.
Yeah, but the first...
Which would have been Woolworth down here, probably.
Yeah, whatever. Like that, yeah. The first long-playing LP vinyl record I ever bought was Grand Illusion by Styx, and still love that record.
That's all. So do I.
It's such a great recording. With the Billy Thorpe, those two albums are so well recorded.
And kind of a similar time frame, too, if
Very
I'm not
similar.
mistaken.
Yep. Grand Illusion would have been 77.
Yeah. And strangely enough, another record I got, I don't know if I bought it at the same exact time. No, I don't think it was. I think that was just my first album. Later on, I got two at the same time. I got Rush's Farewell to Kings.
Mm-hmm.
Duh. And strangely enough, Jethro Tull's Stormwatch.
Okay.
Which is this Jethro Tull album that nobody knows and nobody even likes. but I loved it.
I do.
Do you?
Yeah, Steven Wilson just remixed it and did a 5.1 remix.
Did
it's
he
getting ready to come
really?
out, a huge 40th anniversary package.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, you know Steven,
Oh, yeah.
Grand Illusion was released July 7th, 1977.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I probably bought it in 78.
Yep.
I think I looked at the cover and I was like, that's a cool cover. Because
Yeah.
I never heard them.
It's so funny because Farewell to Kings and Grand Illusion were both at the beginning of my formation.
Really?
Too. It's kind of weird.
That's kind of weird.
Very strange.
Right.
Let's see here. Describe. Now, this is I'm going to give some explanation to this. Describe the local music scene where you came up. And what I'm talking about is when you first started playing gigs and you were playing clubs. Describe the location, the clubs, the people you were playing with. Give us a paint a picture of it for us.
So that was here,
Tampa Bay area.
Tampa Bay area. Seminole, St. Pete, Largo, Clearwater, some North County stuff. Wow. That's an interesting question because back then it was totally different than it is now. Right? Like, you know, like if you were in a band, you were at the same place for like 5 nights, usually starting on Tuesday and playing through Sunday. You just leave your gear there.
Right.
Not like everybody these days that does like 3 gigs in one day to make the same amount of money we made back then. But
start with some of the clubs. Where were you playing in those days? I'm talking about when you first started playing clubs.
When we first started playing clubs, we played in a place called...
What band was this?
It's a band called Strange Behavior.
Okay.
Not to be mistaken with Stranger.
No.
Which it has been before when I, tell people about it.
That's okay.
Band called Strange Behavior. We were a lot of fun. We were not the best band in the area, but people loved us because we were a lot of fun. We were, we had some antics. We have some legendary bar tabs. I mean, we beat Southern Snow in bar tab one time, so that we had a pretty legendary bar tab. Fred would love that. I think the first place we ever played was a place called Bradley's Tavern.
Okay.
That not long after we played it became a True Value Hardware. Might have been because we played there. I don't know. At the time I was super young, so I was like, I might not even been 20 yet. I'm old enough that I got grandfathered into the whole drinking thing, so I was drinking way before 21.
Yeah, that happened to me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so I was playing in clubs, when I was pre-20s. And our guitar player was underage, so we had to sneak him in, and they gave him stuff. Anyway.
That was me.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was playing bars when I was 15.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Gary was probably about 17. But, so the guys I played with are still in town. 2 of them actually still gig. Gary plays on the beach a lot.
Gary
Mills.
Okay.
And John Cannon, I don't know if he's playing with anybody right now. And Vic Delatorre.
Okay.
Who is doing a solo duo thing. I think he plays in maybe a couple bands. He's in town still too. He actually plays piano now as well, which is cool. Mm-hmm. And smattering of singers here and there. And we eventually decided that lead singers suck, so we're going to kick them out. So Gary sang for most of the band's life, which was good because he wasn't the greatest singer at the time, but he was passable. The
only bands I've ever been in that had a guy who only sang was me.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So no offense to the lead singer.
No offense to me. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it was cool. We were 4-piece for the longest time. I played guitar and keys.
Strange Behavior. I like that.
Strange Behavior. I still have a VCR tape of it, a VHS tape of it. And
we'll be including a link to that.
Oh, it's not online. No, it's not.
It will be soon.
No, it won't.
No? Oh, okay. Damn.
No, I was quite the poser back then. But, yeah, it was fun. It was a good band. We played all the hair metal stuff back then.
What year was this? What year were we talking about?
That would probably be like 80... Let's see, I graduated in 84. Probably 86. 86 through 90 something.
Mm-hmm.
It was about 6 years, I think, we played together, roughly. I don't know, that time of my life was kind of a blur.
Oh, I have all sorts of incriminating pictures and videos of me, just stuff.
There's a few of me.
Well, it's what you did.
Yeah.
If you wanted to gig in 1986, you poofed your hair up and you wore spandex and makeup. And to look at me now, it sounds ridiculous. But
I know, me too. Well, maybe not. I mean, I'm still kind of ridiculous looking. I mean, with this crazy thing.
That's what you had to do. That's what the clubs wanted. That's what the people wanted. You did what you had to do.
Yeah. Vertical hair factor, man. Aquanet, was it super extra hold?
Oh, I was never into the vertical hair thing. I really wasn't. I
was into all of it, man. It was ridiculous.
And I even had, I've had 2 long-term relationships in my life, and my wife, and prior to that, my girlfriend in those days was a hairdresser.
Oh, wow.
But she never went really crazy with my hair. That I recall, anyway.
I got pretty vertical. It was crazy.
Okay, next question. The building is burning down. Which guitar do you save?
That would be a really tough one.
And it's only one because the building's burning down. You've got milliseconds to decide. One guitar.
You know what? It would have to be the one that I inherited from Matt Laporte. Didn't actually inherit it. I bought it off somebody that bought it off Matt.
Okay, tell us about this guitar.
It's actually the one it's featured in a picture of him when he was an ESP in Dorsey.
Okay.
There's a picture of him in his hockey jersey holding this guitar, and it was one that he had custom built. It's a custom Horizon.
Nice.
And it's
what
like
color is it?
Pearl white.
Pearl white, okay.
Yeah. I don't know if you worked on that one yet or not. I don't think you have.
The things I did for Matt were actually few and far between. I worked on an Electra for him that he called a fat guy's guitar.
Right.
It was white, as I recall.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah.
It was kind of telly-ish.
Yeah, but it was big. It was wider.
Right.
It was designed to make him look not as big as he looked. He thought it was hilarious. But, since we've touched on it, everybody who sat in that chair and faced me who has history in the Tampa Bay area has shared their memories of one Matt Laporte, who managed to touch an awful lot of people who were, I mean, you got to know him well. He taught at Seminole Music.
Yeah.
He played in a lot of bands around the area. Yeah. And everybody has a story, a Matt Laporte story that they like to share. You don't have to share anything you're not comfortable sharing.
I don't think there's anything I wouldn't be comfortable sharing. It's funny. Matt and I called each other brother from a different mother.
Right.
Because we kind of, back in the day, we looked kind of similar. When we were both skinnier and we both had long hair.
Yeah,
before
you did.
I had so much facial hair. Or actually, before I had any facial
hair.
Facial hair. Yeah. That was a long time ago. That was a lot of hair ago. So, I mean, we grew up in the same area. He was mostly living in Largo and I lived in Seminole. But, my very first memory of Matt Laporte was at the Osceola Talent Show. Mm-hmm. He was playing and Seminole Music was kind of sponsoring. We took the gear there. We set up the guitar amps. I think we might have had some guitars there for the kids and stuff. So, I was a little bit older than Matt, but I got up and I didn't really know how to play. I had a couple licks and I played fast and it was impressive to, high school kids.
What year was this?
Oh, I don't know, man.
Approximate.
This was early. This was probably right after I started. So, well, no, it wouldn't have been right after I started, but it was late 80s, early 90s.
Okay.
So Matt was probably a senior in high school, whatever that puts that time frame in. I'm horrible with time.
That's
Anybody
okay.
that knows me knows I do not do time.
That's all right.
Obviously, I mean, I don't even wear a watch. I don't even look at my phone.
Watches are overrated.
Yeah, I agree. So, it was the Osceola High School thing. I played some crazy licks, cranked up the guitar amp. Matt was a little bit impressed, but then he played. And I was like, what did I play to impress this guy? Because even in high school, he was a shredder.
Right.
and it was just like, I don't know, we just kind of like became friends right there. You know, it was like, you know, this similarity between two guys that had never met before but looked kind of the same. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, I think it was like almost right after that I started calling him my brother of a different mother. And I think he was like around that time or shortly after that, he was working at Kent Graham's Music Mart.
Okay.
And I was working at Seminole Music. And he would come in, I'd go up there, you know, we'd hang out a little bit here and there. But he was such a great dude, man. Like from day one, he was such a great, so humble.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like to be at the level he was at when he was in high school. You know, a lot of kids would have like this big head about them and be like, just, you know, I'm a great guitar player. You know, he was just super humble and super cool.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of memories about Matt, though, let me tell you. Because, I mean, I worked with him for how many years?
Yeah. Anything you want to share? Anything stands out? You can keep it to yourself if you want to. There's nothing wrong with that.
You know, nothing specific. Just, he was such a jokester. You know, he was always like so full of jokes and so full of fun and always cracking jokes. And, you know, I don't know that I have anything really specific. I knew you were going to ask that question.
That's okay.
And I couldn't really come up with anything except that story when we were kids, you know.
I think you've already said it. You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
That was my first memory and probably the one that stands out the most.
some folks that I've interviewed have had specific stories, and others have been more general. You know,
Yeah.
he was a generous guy. He was
Really. Gentle soul.
to a fault.
Oh, yeah.
I think the thing that, you know, I've gotten to know Matt's playing better since his passing, and he, I know he worshipped Chris Oliva.
Oh, yeah.
But he had something different than Chris. Chris, in my mind, to my ear, Chris distinguished himself with his chord work, which was like no one else's.
Yeah.
He would do chord changes that just you'd never heard before,
Right.
anywhere, in any style.
Yeah.
And his chord work was at turns aggressive and bizarre and just very inspiring.
Yeah.
But Matt had a similar thing going on with his lead work.
Yeah.
His lead playing was, you know, most players that play metal are in that mode. You hear a whole lot of bluesiness going on, or a whole lot of this or a whole lot of that. Matt would occasionally do things and you'd go, Jesus, where did that come from?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Where did you get that? But, yeah.
You know what's funny about Matt's playing? When I discovered Buckethead, I was like, these guys are cut from similar cloth. Because it was like, I mean, Matt didn't do as much of the really, really crazy shit like Buckethead does. But that expressiveness in their playing, that soul in their playing, even when they're just playing a million notes a minute, there's an expressiveness in their playing, you know. And,
I would agree with that completely.
Yeah, I took a couple lessons from Matt, and he had this modes tape. He was trying to teach me the modes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know music theory very well. I'm like one of those guys that, you know, just kind of struggles through shit. I listen to something and I figure out what to play that sounds kind of good. But Matt tried to teach me the modes, and he had this tape where he played the background music, and he, you know, played some stuff on top of it. And I had the tape. I don't have it anymore. I wish I still did, but I had him playing over top of it as examples, and that was some of the best playing I've ever heard. Just amazing, just off the cuff.
Yeah, just instructional in nature.
Yeah, crazy.
All right, next question. Are you proficient on any other instruments than guitar?
I wouldn't say I'm proficient on any instrument.
If you're in retail for 33 years, you pick up a few things.
I play guitar. I play keyboards. I play bass. I can play a little bit of drums, not enough to play through a whole song or on my own record or in a band or in front of anybody. It's actually pretty embarrassing. Once I get warmed up, I've got a pretty good fat back beat. That's
there you
about
go.
it. But that's about
go.
it. Yeah, I mean, I played keyboards and guitar in the band I was in, and I still play a little bit of keyboards, play a little bit of bass. the joke at Seminole Music was always that I had one lick on every instrument, and I played that lick so much and so well that everybody thought I was great on everything. I'm like, no, I got one lick, man. If I could put it all together in one song, it might be epic, but they don't all fit together. So,
that's funny. Talk about a turning point at any time in your career. In other words, what we mean by that is that there was before and there was after, clearly demarcated by some event.
Wow. That's a tough one, because that 33 years I was at Seminole Music was a blur.
Right.
Like, I mean, I look back and it doesn't feel like 10 years. Mm-hmm. You know, it doesn't feel like 5 years. Mm-hmm. Of course, I start piecing together like little events, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's a lot that happened. A lot that happened. You know, honestly, I would have to say it's been recent, like super recent.
Okay.
The closing of Seminole Music.
Yeah. Because
that was the closing of one door and the opening of many others.
Right.
And you know, honestly, it's kind of strange that I was at a music store for 33 years, played in a band for a little bit, and, you know, like my musical life, as it were, was completely stagnant. You know, like I hadn't played with anybody in forever. I wasn't writing songs, even though I was like dabbling and stuff here and there. I have a little project recording studio at my house, which I've always had, mm-hmm. Usually not plugged in. You know, not hooked up. Once in a while, I get a bug up my ass and stuff gets plugged in, and I might throw some songs together or some ideas together, but never finishing songs. You know, never really going there. And I don't know. It was weird when Seminole Music closed, or when I got the word that Seminole Music was going to close. I knew kind of in advance that was going to happen, and I was terrified. Right, because I grew up there. That was my life for 33 years. Right. Like, all my friends were there, you know, all the friends I knew came in and saw me there. If they wanted to go see me somewhere, it was at Seminole Music. So when I got the word that it was going to close, I was terrified. And I had to like start thinking differently about what I was going to do and where my life was going and, you know, whatever.
And the timing wasn't great because, I mean, the word came down before Christmas. You know, at a time when you're supposed to be celebrating the end of the year. And
yeah,
it was like,
it was awkward. But, you know, stuff happens the way it happens.
Right.
You know, I obviously would have chosen to, you know, maybe get a little bit more warning, but I still wouldn't have gotten my shit together any quicker. I know me. You know, I'm a chronic procrastinator.
As in, there's no great time to have kids. There's no great time for anything to come to an end.
No, there's no great time for anything. And waiting for the right time is ridiculous. You know, the time to do anything is now, right? So, you know, it kind of like flipped a switch, and it was like, you know, what do I do? And you know, I got a gig, I got a job.
Okay, well, that's the next question. Oh. Discuss your current gig. So we're leading you to that one.
Okay, cool. So I'm not doing retail anymore. Okay. I loved retail, you know, contrary to what I used to say when I worked retail. Retail sucks. You know, but you know, there's good things and there's bad things about retail. The social aspect of retail is amazing. You know, people would come in, and Sundays were great. You know, you'd come in occasionally on Sunday. Tony Zero would come in. Tony Green would come in. People I hadn't seen in years. All these musicians I've known for a bazillion years would come in, and we'd just hang out and talk because Sundays were slow.
And during all this, Cannon McDonald is sitting in the corner.
Shredding.
Sweet picking.
Yeah. Or in the back yelling at things.
Yeah, there you go.
I love Cannon, by the way. Oh, Cannon's a great guy,
Cannon is a
man.
dear friend.
Yeah, me too.
Sweet kid and absolutely monster player.
Oh my God. I know, just crazy.
I mean, it's very satisfying to look back on his development when he was just a little shaver and just hanging around absorbing.
And he started at Seminole Music.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Yeah.
Man, so many memories with that place.
Yeah.
But when that chapter was closing, the owner of Seminole Music, Rob Troke, is a great guy, by the way. Mm-hmm. I've known him since high school. We both went to high school together. Mm-hmm. And he told me straight up before he closed the store, like way before he closed the store, he said if he ever decided to close the store, he had a gig for me.
Okay.
So I'm working at his other company, Veritas Instrument Rental, which is a great company. They're huge. You know, they do band instrument rentals, flutes, clarinets, trumpets, stuff like that. So I've got a gig working there in the warehouse, in between the warehouse and the repair shop. It's not really like retail at all. You know, there's nothing about it that's like retail, but it's cool. It's a cool gig. But most importantly, I guess, and what really has changed and where that big shift came in was I was super comfortable at Seminole Music. You know, I'd been there forever. In the new place, I'm the F&G. And I haven't been the F&G at
That's
anything.
fucking new guy, for those of you who don't know.
Right. So, and truly I am. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But like anything, you know, if I apply myself, I can do well.
Sure.
And I've got some good people training me. And, you know, so I'm the F&G, and it feels really good to be the F&G because I haven't been the F&G at anything in a long time. But you know, it allowed me to kind of change my thoughts and get out of being stuck. You know, I was kind of stuck because I've been doing the same thing for so long, and I was so comfortable and so complacent. So I'm like back playing guitar more, composing more, putting my studio together. You know, it's mostly in the box. I do have a little PV Classic 30. Yeah, man.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, I know, right? What's up with that? And this is one of the American-made ones, I believe. Maybe.
What year is it?
It's pre-standby switch.
Does it have the cod piece on the front? Well,
I don't remember. If
it's pre-standby switch, then it's American. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it have the big serial number plate on the back of it? That big, huge plate?
I believe so.
Yeah, that's U.S.
Yeah. Great.
If you look at that plate, you'll see at the bottom of it, it says Made in USA.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does.
Not that the overseas ones are any different, because they're exactly the same.
Yeah.
Same in every respect.
Yeah. But I love it.
It's just sad to see.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you've been following current events. You know,
as
a matter of fact,
about
today is the public display and auction there in Meridian for everything in that building. Wow. Raw materials, piles of cases and guitars, and
you know, it's just a sign of where things are going.
Yeah,
you know, things are changing. Things are changing. You know, and retail's changing. You know, retail changed drastically.
If I can grouse for a second, it really does have to do with that American mentality that's pervaded everything of price is king.
Right.
As a group, we the American public have insisted for the longest time that price is our main concern.
Right.
Without stopping to think or visualize where that might go. Well, where it's gone is PV is going under in this country. Going under. I mean, the company still exists, but absolutely all their production is overseas.
Yeah, and that's going to change things drastically.
A customer of mine pointed out this week, he said, look, there are plenty of American companies that don't manufacture anything here.
It's true.
So.
And they haven't for a long time.
Exactly.
Let's
see.
Pretty crazy.
Next question. You can poo-poo this one and move it along if you want. Where and how often do you perform?
Music?
Yes. Yes.
Almost nothing at all.
Yeah. When's the last time? Let's change that question. When was the last time you got up and played for people?
Oh my God, a long time ago. Like 15, maybe longer. Probably more than 15 years ago. Like in front of an audience, on stage with a band. Mm-hmm. It's been a long time. May have even been longer ago than that. Actually, that's not true. Was it maybe 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? At Seminole Music, we had a anniversary sale. Uh-huh. And we threw together a band. Nobody practiced except me. Practiced my ass off because I was playing bass. I didn't have a bass rig, you know, so I just...
names. Who are we talking about? Who else?
John Spinelli was playing drums.
Okay. Not surprising that John didn't practice.
I think he doesn't need to, though.
No, he doesn't.
No, I mean, he knows every song, you know, in every catalog everywhere. And if he doesn't, he can fake his way through it without even having to break a sweat.
Yeah.
I think, was it Raleigh playing guitar? I think it was Raleigh playing guitar.
Mike, maybe? Mike May?
I don't remember if Mike was in it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick.
Oh.
God, what's his last name? Nick Resch.
Okay.
Was singing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he practiced much either.
Singers.
At least it didn't seem like anybody practiced, except for me. I practiced my ass off. Actually, I used a little app that I forgot what it is. It's like Tab, some Tab thing. It's like Guitar, Guitar Pro.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the generic version of Guitar Pro. Tab Toolkit, it's called.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm plugging anybody there. I don't even know if they still make it, but it was really cool because you could download like a tab version of anything, and you could learn the drums, the bass, the guitar, keyboard parts. So I learned the bass parts off of there, and I think I pretty much nailed it, except that nobody else practiced. It might just be me, but it was fun. It was cool. That was the last time
I have never learned a song any other way than by ear.
Really?
Never.
I am not super proficient at learning stuff by ear. Guitar I'm a little bit better at, but bass I have a hard time hearing it sometimes because I'm not a bass player.
Yeah, it can be tricky.
Yeah. So
particularly if you're talking about, progressive bands where the bass can occupy frequency spaces that basses typically don't occupy.
Right. And we were doing a Cheap Trick song, and I had a hard time hearing it because I think he was still playing the 12 string.
Yeah, it's a lot of frequency ranges in that bass.
But it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Any non-musical ventures you'd like to discuss? Anything anything that consumes your time? Hobbies? Anything that's non-musical? Other outside interests from being a musician?
There wasn't a lot that I was doing up until recently. Because again, I was really kind of stagnant. I wasn't doing music. I wasn't really doing much of anything. I was playing a lot of video games.
Okay.
That
qualifies.
I have a deep love of video games.
Me
At
too.
one time, I was really good at several video games. But I'm, kind of old and, kids, I don't have the response time that these kids have.
Well, there are kids out there making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year playing video games.
I wish that I had gotten in on that, but whatever. Who knows? Maybe I'll start a YouTube channel or a Twitch channel. I'll be the grumpy old gamer dude.
Oldfartgamer.com.
Oldfartgamer.com. Except I'm not so grumpy anymore. I don't know. I'd have to stop smiling.
You better work on that.
Right. But lately, there's all kinds of stuff I'm thinking about getting into. I've always been told that I have a radio voice and I should be doing radio stuff or whatever.
Well, you can use this as an audition.
Great.
Tape or not, depending on how it comes out.
Yeah.
No, don't go look at that.
Yeah, don't look at that. That's not a good example. But I'd like to use my voice for something.
There you go.
I'm not a great singer. Anybody
You
that's
have a
knows.
well-modulated speaking voice.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
When did you last practice, and what did you play?
So a friend of mine that I've been working with on a couple songs, he writes completely different than I've ever played, like very folk country-ish. Writes really pretty cool songs. He's a pretty proficient writer. And he threw this song together that's kind of a swampy country-ish thing, but it's in, like, the main chord structure is sevenths. And I've never tried to solo over seventh chords, except maybe just to force a blues scale on top of it or
It's
a pentatonic.
hard. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, and I tried to throw this, just a generic pentatonic scale on top of it, and it just didn't work because it's D seventh, A seventh, and E seventh. So I had to look up some music theory and see what to play.
You can use relative minors to the pentatonic, but it reveals you as someone who's trying to cheat and use relative minors.
Yes. So I was practicing playing on top of seventh chords.
Okay.
Which has been kind of exciting. It's like, if it wasn't like bar chords or something metal-ish, You know, of course, metal has progressed way beyond bar chords these days, but and a lot of the stuff I listen to is not in, you know, what I used to listen to. But you know, learning how to solo over that kind of stuff, and it was fun. You know, so it wasn't like a song that's out there, but it was kind of expanding my boundaries a little, my capabilities a little bit, and it was a blast.
Cool. Very cool.
I still can't really, I'm not proficient at it, but you know, re-exploring the Mixolydian mode was fun, and some blues scales with some passing notes. Yeah, like pentatonic major. Who plays in pentatonic major? I was last weekend.
Yeah,
like, yeah. That's
what's suitable. That's what the song calls for. Right. You do it.
Yeah.
Very good. Let's see here. Name one musician. This is the one musician that you have enjoyed playing with the most in your career. Now, to clarify. This can be a total miscreant. This could be somebody that personally you really don't like very much, but you really enjoyed playing with that person. We're asking you to name names.
I haven't played with that many people, because anybody that really knows me that well knows I'm kind of a hack. It's true. I'm a complete hack at most everything in my life.
You know, coffee tastes completely different when it's coming up your nostrils.
Yes, it does. That's a good thing, though. It clears out your sinuses. You know?
Yeah.
You know, they snort that stuff. No, something else. Wow, that's a good question.
Thank you.
You know, interestingly enough, Jason Karen.
Ah, okay. That's a good choice.
We had a thing at Seminole Music again, where most of my musical experience comes from.
For those of you who don't know, Jason Karen is a drummer. And Jason Karen is a mutant.
Yes.
Frankly.
Yes, he is.
I get the feeling that Jason could play absolutely anything that's ever been created.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, he's a great drummer.
Yeah.
So we had this event at Seminole Music, which was mind-blowing. It was Royce Bassam and Jason Karen on drums. And I think it was just Marvin Hawkins on guitar. Mm-hmm. Do you know Marvin?
I think I know the name.
A long time ago, he was in a band called Mostros Gatos.
Okay.
That was this like crazy way out there. There's actually a video on YouTube, and you'll watch it and go, "What?" But brilliant player, and not like super technical player. You know, like not like Matt Laporte, not like Jerry, not like Gary Shutt. You know, not like any of those shredders in town. Not like Cannon, Justin. I could name names forever.
There's so many players in this area.
But he just had this.
Many of which you've sat in that chair.
I know. Yeah. I saw the list. I tried to watch some of them, but holy cow, there's so much.
Yeah.
But he had this like musicality about him that was just really, really brilliant. You know, like way outside the box. And he and Royce Bassam had a band. What did they call it? Oh, they're gonna kill me for not remembering it. Brothers. I'll remember it when I'm not thinking about it.
That's fine.
And they used to do a duo, just drums and guitar. Mm-hmm. But they did this thing with Royce, and I think Jason did a couple tunes, and with Marvin, and it was awesome. It was amazing. It was brilliant. And on their break, Marvin took a break, and I asked, and Marvin had this really crazy guitar rig with 2 wah-wah pedals, and he would get up and stand on both of them and rock them back and forth and do some really crazy stuff. One was a bass wah, one was a guitar wah. And I asked him on his break, you know, like how do I get, you know, how do I do what you're doing? Mm-hmm. You know, like I've always been stuck in a musical rut, it seems. And he says, just do the best you can with what you got. And I was like, man, that's awesome. That's brilliant. And that's all he did. And I think there might have been some beer involved. I'm not sure. That was a long time ago. So
that should be on my headstone.
Right. There may have been alcohol.
There may have been beer involved.
But Jason got behind the drum kit, and I somehow got Marvin's rig to work. And it was confusing and crazy, and it was like it was just one of those musical moments, right, where like it just jived. And it was just a jam. We were just jamming. We were just throwing stuff out there, just throwing stuff down, and I had no idea what I was doing. He was probably just throwing out some funk beats or something. And I was throwing down some rhythm stuff and some lead stuff, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was hitting buttons on Marvin's rig, and it was going crazy and making all kinds of squealy noises and shit. And I was like, this is great. But that was fun. And, you know, Jason, of course, can hold a space for any musician to do whatever they need to do in. And that was...
Jason is that very rarest of animals, a musical drummer.
Yeah.
You get the feeling that he would have been a great musician no matter what instrument he chose.
Oh, yeah.
He just happened to choose drums
right.
as his primary voice. But I agree with that assessment. He leaves space.
Yep.
And, you know, we both know that he knows how to fill that space when necessary.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Witness the Bogus Pomp.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know, that's filling up space.
Oh, yeah. That was crazy.
Yeah. So.
And before that, he was just doing like the rock gig thing, you know, and he really stretched himself doing that.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, of course, his skills just showed themselves.
Absolutely. Good answer. Name one musician that you would like to play with.
Oh, wow. That's still alive?
It can be anybody. Living, dead. I'm not going to add to the question. It's up to you to fill in the blanks.
As my cell phone goes off.